A dealer can only say this: I have factory trained technicians on your car. If you go to a third party or aftermarket, they're practicing. I will say it one more time: they are practicing on your car. I am trained. I got the bat phone to the person that invented it. They do not. Stop thinking about the money. Think about retention. My goal is that I want to sell the hour capacity, sell recommendations that sell our family members. I'm going to say it one more time, I know. The issue is that if I focus on that focus, are we selling the right thing in the driveway? Are we asking for the right thing in the driveway? Are we communicating with our customers the right time? The retention is easier to get.
Welcome to Retention Roadmap, navigating service success for new car dealerships. I'm your host, Bill Springer, and today's podcast is sponsored by DriveSure. DriveSure helps new car dealerships remain the go-to provider for maintenance, tires, and repairs. For information on how DriveSure can help your dealership retain more customers for scheduled maintenance, tires, and unplanned repairs, go to drivesure.com/dealership solutions. Today, I'm excited to welcome Tully Williams, a seasoned leader in fixed operations and the fixed operations director at the Niello Company. Tully brings decades of experience and an unmatched passion for elevating the customer experience in dealership service departments. Known for his energy, transparency, and data-driven approach, Tully has become one of the industry's most respected voices on fixed ops strategy. In today's episode, we're going to dive into some of the key moments when dealerships risk losing customers, those critical defection points, and how dealers can take simple, effective actions to improve retention. We'll also discuss and explore how strategies may differ between luxury and middle market brands. Let's jump in. Tully, welcome to the podcast.
Wow, that was a great introduction. I feel like an old person right now, but hey, thank you so much. That was awesome. It's great to be here. Thank you very much for the invite.
Absolutely, Tully. Thanks for agreeing to come on board. So let's just dive right on in. From your perspective, Tully, what does great customer retention look like to you in 2025, and how has that perhaps changed over the last few years?
So I believe that we're in the repeat and referral business. Okay, and now I'm a car dealer, by the way, right? So the goal is that if we have to believe that we're in the repeat and referral business. If you don't believe in your repeat and referral business, you're not. You're just one of those people that are just trying to gouge everybody that comes in the door. We believe repeat referral business is the way to do it, and the way to look at your business if it's successful. One, am I selling my hours capacity? I got to throw it in there because I'm all about the hours. But retention is key, and are you measuring retention? If you are not measuring retention, you are just figuring it all out on a daily basis. And the goal is that we believe that we should measure retention at our stores. And a good number is 70%. 75% would be a winner chicken dinner, right? Mm-hmm. If we're in the 60s, we need to work on the whys. Why are we at 60+%? But we talk about it every week on our fixed call that we have with our dealerships. But our goal is to keep that in mind because remember, customers are helping us make sure that we get a paycheck. As I like to think of customers, what would you do if that customer was your mother, and how would you treat that person in the stalls, right? So I always believe it starts with selling great recommendations. We would sell our family members. And to me, that is the key issue. When a service manager calls me up and says, Tully, I said, if it was your mother, what would you do? And I say, you've answered your own question.
Right. So I'd like to go back to a comment you made on the way in which you measure retention, because you're preaching to the choir here, at least from when talking to me about different ways to measure retention. And there are a lot of different ways to measure that. Tell me a little bit about how you came up with, your standard that you set for your stores of one visit every 14 months. Versus the variety of other ways in which various people measure retention.
Great question. So I believe that the manufacturers have their own crazy ways of retention, and honestly, I don't really care about that. Since we have our own database, Click runs for us, and we know that we can measure our own retention. I believe it's one visit, 14 months. Tully, why 14 months? Because I believe people are not going to show up on the 12th month perfectly. I believe good customers might show up on the 13th month. We're busy. People are busy every day. You can think about it. Trying to get a haircut. My God, it takes, oh my God, I gotta go. The issue is that we have to have an area of wiggle room. And that's the reason I chose 14, not 13, because we have some of our manufacturers, like Land Rover, pushes their services out a pretty far out.
Right.
So I thought 14 was a good month to do our entire group. And I look at a customer line and a warranty line as retention. Why warranty? Warranty is customer pay. Guess what? The factory just paid for it. The issue is that I believe that those two are together as one to drive retention number. And I think that there's so many things that drive that retention, but that is the issue at 14 months. We have a good number for all of our stores, and every store is set the same way, so we can measure it together and talk about it.
And what do you see, if any, Tully, the differences between, how you manage that process to hit those customer retention goals for, you mentioned Land Rover, say a Land Rover versus, I don't know, a Volkswagen store, or choose another OEM if you like.
So, I mean, the Land Rover pushes their services out pretty far out. Right. And, I don't agree with that. They have shrink those in for this model year, which is great. So they're coming more into the reality wise of, we need to see the car at least once a year ish. Right. To me, that's a big deal. But I think that when you look at certain brands, it doesn't matter if you have a Porsche, which, by the way, we've been in business for 104 years, and we have the oldest Porsche dealer in the United States.
Is that right? Wow.
Dealer, which is really cool to say. We have the oldest Audi dealer in the United States with the same dealer. And we have one of the oldest, if not the oldest, Volkswagen dealers with the same dealer from the very beginning. So it's kind of cool to say that, but that really drives retention. If it's a Volkswagen or a Porsche, the issue is that we still need to provide that same customer service, that same reality wise. If I come in, I'm treated like family to drive retention. It doesn't matter the brand. Now, I don't believe a Porsche person is going to go to Jiffy Lube, where a Volkswagen dealer might stray. But here's the deal. A dealer can only say this: I have factory trained technicians on your car. If you go to a third party or aftermarket, they're practicing. I will say it one more time. They are practicing on your car. I am trained. I got the bat phone to the person that invented it. They do not.
Right.
So the goal is that we have things to do. Plus, you're not sitting on a dirty folding chair with a magazine that's 5 years old on a sticky tray in the waiting room. We have beautiful facilities that provide great service. Now, that doesn't mean we should charge an exorbitant amount of money. No, our maintenances need to be priced competitively against the third parties, competitively against our competition, right? Our maintenance, right? And then you have our competitive, where I look at tires. They need to be like free, almost, right? So we can get that in a minute. But those things to me are the critical area, no matter if it's a Porsche or a Volkswagen, Acura or Land Rover. We have to have that same structure at all stores. It doesn't matter. If I had a Toyota store, I'd think the same way. I just have a lot more cars coming through the driveway.
Yep. I'm glad you brought up tires, Tully, because we were talking before I hit the record button earlier, and the importance of tires. And, we, just as a bit of background, in 2023, our company did a service retention study of about 1,400 customers of new car dealerships who, within the last 60 days, had their car in for service at the service department. And we asked them the simple question of, are you aware that, does your dealership sell tires, was the question. And a full third of those customers said either I don't know or no, which was incorrect because they all sell tires. And I'm curious, from your perspective, Tully, with respect to tires, why do you, from a retention perspective, why is it so important? And what do you think that looks like in the coming, 2 to 5 years? Is it going to be more important, less important, the same?
It's going to be more important. Think about it. Tires are retention, right? And there's all kinds of, well, the first person to ask for the tire gets the sale. I don't believe that, honestly, right? I believe that you have to be price competitive for tires, because that's kind of like, it's just like that's part of that business piece of the puzzle. Now, it took us a while to figure this out, because you know what? Service writers don't want to sell tires. Why? Because they don't make a lot of money on tires. They don't make any money on tires. But we had to convince them that retention is the name of the game. Do you want a customer that that's coming every year with their family members and they repeat referral? And the answer is absolutely yes. And what drives that is tire sales. So what we do is we measure tires. We measure a lot of our recommendations that we do, our technicians do. One is that we have a technician inspection on every car. That is a mandatory thing. We're 99%. Why 99%? there's parts warranty ROs that open up that we have to put in that kind of skew the number.
Yeah.
Then we have 99% tech videos on every one of those. And on those tech videos, we're not trying to be Steven Spielberg on a video. We want it to be about 45 seconds to a minute. And what we're going to do is thank them for coming in. I'm your technician blank. Your tire measurements are, your brake measurements are. There's some things that need immediate attention or not. Thank you so much for coming in. So we'll always mention the tires. Now, we're not going to mention in gibberish that we only know 430 seconds. What does that mean? Couldn't tell you. Depends what tire it is. Depends what brand it is. So our goal is that as your tire is 430 seconds or in the red, and those tires need immediate attention, right? Not that's a word that a customer can understand. Now our goal is that we can't sell tires because everybody compares us to Costco.
Sure.
Right? And I tell you, everybody, I'm saving you $1,000 if you buy it for me. What do you mean? When you go to Costco, how much do you spend at the store? You spend $1,000. It's $1,000 bill store, and you go home with a bunch of crap that you don't need.
Right.
So
that's a good point.
That we believe in is when we look at our recommendations. I'm getting back to tires in a minute. Is that we break everything down into about 15 categories. Les Silvers told me about this 20 years ago when he had AutoPoint and MPI. So the issue is that when we look at those recommendations, I look at tires as not how many I sold. Care less. I care less about how many red events that I sell.
Mm-hmm.
The goal is that's what we look at. We look at 4 key categories that drive retention. First is tires, absolutely. Brakes, batteries, and maintenance. If you have a red battery and they don't buy it, they're going somewhere else. If there's a red tire, they're going to go somewhere else. If there's a red battery, they're going to go somewhere else. And there's red maintenance, they're probably going to go somewhere else. So we look at those key issues. We believe those numbers need to be at least 75% same-day selling. Same-day selling, Tully word means same visit. I just like same-day selling. It sounds great.
Yep.
Now, when we look at our tire sales, and a lot of our stores are on this. I think there's one holdout, and I don't know why, because he thinks he's smarter than everybody else. But the goal is that we buy 3, get 1 free. Now we've been doing this for probably about 6 months. Our BMW store sold 78% of their red events. Okay, I don't know a dealership that does that.
Yeah.
Now, the best thing that ever happened is my controller called me up and says, Tully, you have negative gross in the tire line on the financial statement. I said, I know, isn't it great? Because I know I'm selling tires, because here's the deal. I'm probably going to lose money selling tires. But I didn't let them go somewhere else.
Yeah, you're going to keep the customer.
Key issue. So now when we had that great experiment, and our BMW store spearheaded it, both of them did, is that now everybody's involved in that, because now we are selling tires at least 50% of our red events, and our target is 75. It's a big number. It's a big number when you say, oh, Tully, only 50%, when the average dealer probably sells 20%. Because remember, I'm not including used cars, because that's what everybody does. Well, I sell 4 million tires to the used car department because they have to buy them from you.
Right.
How many did you sell at customer pay? That's the trick. So now we look at the red events. When you're looking at your recommendations that drive retention, is that you want to look at your same-day selling on those events. So what is your same-day selling on brakes? Well, we do a great job selling on brakes. Really? Tell me, how many did you ask for, and then how many did you sell? And the deal is, well, now they're down in the 20s and 30s. That don't work. It needs to be 75%. Well, if you're really proud of that gold-plated rotor, you're probably not going to sell too many of those. The goal is that you don't make money selling retention items. Your goal is to make a little, but not a lot.
Yep.
Right? And on a financial statement, they have maintenance broke out for a reason, because the margin will be less on it. Care less about it anyways. I don't care about the money. I care about selling the stuff. So now we look at those 4 things, is that tires are the huge issue. 3 for 1 gives that interest. You're talking about it when it's yellow. We don't care about selling yellows, but if some people want to buy them, God bless them. And then we focus on the reds. Same with brakes. And of course, same with batteries, right? We cannot lose this brake. We can't lose a battery sale either.
Sure. From an operational standpoint, sticking with tires here for a moment, Tully, we see a lot of, I think that the most successful dealers that I see that are selling a lot of tires like you are is they've got the operational process down, particularly with their parts department. And I see the corollary to that is a lot of parts departments who, service wants to sell more tires, but they have a hard time keeping them in stock for whatever reason, which I don't quite understand. How have you solved that problem?
Well, first thing is that the parts department needs to be paid like the service department. So first thing is my parts and service managers are paid exactly the same on the hours forecast plus gross. Our back counter people are paid on the hours forecast. Did we hit it or not? So this bullshit about the bull about the about gross and the back counter, care less about it. Care less about it. I care about the parts people because parts sells hours. I care about the parts person delivering the part to the technician. Keep the technician in the stall. I'm getting to tires here in a moment. But the goal is the mentality of the parts department is not you may come to the bench. The mentality of the Niello Company is the parts department is the reason why we have great success, and the parts department needs to go out in the shop, ask them what they want, and I'll bring it to you. And we're rewarding them on the success of the fixed ops department, not parts and sales, parts and service, fixed ops department. So now, when it talks about tires, we're a dealer. So we have an OEM manufacturer. It's going to be Tire Rack. It's going to be Dealer Tire. Dealer Tire is the main one, right? Dealer Tire is expensive. But here's the deal. They'll do anything for you. How many tires do you want? I want 4 trillion. We'll drop them off tomorrow.
Yeah.
We have 2 trillion that are old. We'll take them back. I mean, the goal is that there's no excuse for not having tires in stock except for space. Now, the issue is going to be is that if you're in the tire business, your manufacturer's OEM company can help you with that. And your goal is that what you should do, talk to them, ask them what we need. They know better than you do, right? And the goal is that we should not be waiting for tires unless it's an oddball. There's oddballs out there. It is what it is. But our goal is that we can usually get them in 4 to 6 hours.
Beautiful.
Right? And here's the deal. You can't ask for a tire sale at 3 p.m. You got to ask for tire sales at 9 o'clock in the morning.
Yep. Beautiful. Totally shifting gears here just a bit. I think one of the probably most over-talked aspects of customer retention is that first service visit. And yet, our numbers show that only 57% of new car buyers are coming in for that first service visit within the first 12 months. What are you guys doing differently to help drive that number higher? And is that one of those numbers that you track?
I don't track. It's hard to track that number. And here's the reason why is that, as you know, service writers don't always do what we ask them to do. And them putting in the right op code is usually not the case. So what we look at is the overall retention number. But here's the thing on the first, I think the first service is a huge deal. All of our manufacturers give the first one for free anyways. Doesn't matter. They won't show up anyways, right? But what we believe in is that if I email a customer a welcome email, thank you for buying your car, 8 months before they need an oil change, is that going to work? And the answer is no, it does not.
Right.
2 is that we're going to send another email out that says, hey, you bought a new car. Why don't you come down and buy some of our old sticky accessories that we love to sell you because they're probably 4 years old. Okay, that doesn't work either. The next thing is going to be is that I think sending emails, as my daughter says, emails are for old people, Daddy, right? Nobody pays attention to them, right? The next thing is that should we text them? Well, the problem is if we text them too much, they're going to do what? Block, and you're never in. So here we go, is that we believe a BDC, a human BDC, not an AI robot BDC, is the best. So I believe that we have started our BDC last year with great success. And we believe that emails, I would love to turn them all off and have my BDC in charge of all of my retention calls at 11, at 12, at 13, at 14, at 15 months. If we don't, we call you at 11. We call you at 12 if you don't show up. We're going to call you at 13. I believe that we have a human being that calls that person every month. And then when we call that person, we have a great software volley that helps us with that. right? We'll handle it better. And then what happens is that we know. So the customer says, you guys are blank. I can get the manager on the phone and say, you need to call this customer right away. Or it's really hard. Can I come and pick up your car? Oh, I didn't know you had that, right? And a human being is talking to a human being, which to me is the winner chicken dinner. So now when I look at first service appointments, I think the second, third, fourth, fifth, and sixth are just as important as the first.
Sure.
And you have to have that mentality. And the way that we're doing that is with human beings calling human beings with a great software to back it up.
Fantastic. As we get towards the end here, Tully, when we were talking earlier about those kind of 6 critical defection points, from your experience, which when it comes to customer retention, what do you think is the lowest hanging fruit? For a new service director coming into a new role at a new dealership, what would you say is the lowest hanging fruit that they should focus on first?
Stop thinking about the money. Think about retention. Because what happens is that every dealer that's in a 20 group, all they care about is gouging the hell out of people, right? My goal is that I want to sell the hour capacity, sell recommendations that sell our family members. I'm going to say it one more time, I know. The issue is that if I focus on that focus, are we selling the right thing in the driveway? Are we asking for the right thing in the driveway? Are we communicating with our customers the right time? The retention is a much greater, it's easier to get. What happens a lot is young people or people that are not in the business or just old timers that don't believe the change is that they're still in pound, pound, pound. They need an alignment every time they come in. I hate alignments. I hate them. I'd rather just sell an alignment when I sell a set of tires. Because if you have an alignment machine in front of your car, you're going to sell way too many alignments. And what happens when we sell too many things to dealers, to customers? They go somewhere else. They don't tell you why, because most people won't. But the issue is that if we overburden our customers with bull, they will not come back. And they won't tell you why. And they'll block your phone number and your email, and you're doomed.
Right.
So the goal is that don't get to that situation. Understand every customer is valuable. Are there some crazy ones out there? Of course there is. That's just the business that we're in, right? So the goal is that you have to treat every customer as the last customer you'll ever see in your life. And I think that when your mentality of your service advisors, because you got to remember, they're busy. They're busy.
Sure. Absolutely.
What happens when you're busy? Well, one leaves. Who cares? Whew, I got a little extra room. But when you think about that piece, I'm glad you brought that up, is that I believe that writing 400 ROs a day doesn't work. I don't believe that writing 30 ROs a day doesn't work. I believe that you should have a ratio of technicians to service advisors. And this is driven for retention only, because if a service writer is too busy, what happens? I call you at 5 o'clock and lie and tell them that there's nothing needed on your car. Oh, I'm so busy. Can you come and pick it up? Versus I want you to call at 10 o'clock and say, my technician has done inspection. I just sent you a picture and videos of your car. If there's anything that I can answer for you, you can use your thumb to say yes or no. Or your car is in great shape. You can pick it up at 2, right? Versus picking everything up at the end of the day. So we look at ratios to technicians on their efficiency. So if you're 100% efficiency, that'll be 3 to 1. Why 3 to 1? I believe 10 hours a day is a good number. That's 30 hours you need to sell every day of your life. It's a lot. Now, if I'm 150% efficiency, I'm down to 1.5 technicians per rider. Well, Tully, that seems like a lot. It's a lot, I know, but here's the great news. I don't burn service riders out.
Yeah.
Service riders go home at 5 and 6 o'clock in the evening. Service riders are not fried, so then they also get short with customers, which drives your CSI down. What CSI stands for? Customer supplies income. The issue is that I've got to keep the ratio down so our service riders can take a deep breather. As soon as we hire more techs and not riders, my same-day selling goes down and my CSI goes down. So when we hire technicians, we have to work on hiring service riders, which means you need a bench of technicians and you need a bench of service riders. And that is a huge deal, right? So
yeah,
I can say we don't have a tech shortage at the Niello Company. And why do I say that? It's because we work on the bench all the time, from shop assistants to hourlies to flat rates. We're constantly doing that. So now getting back to the retention number are your service riders overworked? Not their fault. That's because someone somewhere, maybe in a DA, said, it's got to be 5-1. That's 50 hours a day of every day of your life. Not going to happen. And what happens when they're stressed out? It's just not good. It's not a good environment. So our goal is that we've really got to maintain our ratios to encourage our service writers then to have the time to spend with their customers, have the time to ask for things that are needed, things that we'd sell our family members, and then 2, have a great time to say thank you for coming in.
For sure. Well, Tully, you've given us just a ton to think about and some great insights. We really, really appreciate that. If any of our listeners would like to get a hold of you, what's the best way for them to do that?
You can email me, Williams at Niello, Niello.com.
Super. Well, we'll make sure we put that in the show notes. Tully, thank you so much for being on the Retention Roadmap podcast. Really appreciate it.
Thank you very much for having me. I appreciate it.
You've been listening to Retention Roadmap, Navigating Service Success for New Car Dealerships. Subscribe on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, YouTube, or wherever you get your podcasts.